Hi, welcome to Gray Zone Therapy. I'm Marcus Kukla. What if you don't remember me from any previous videos? What if you don't care? What if we can never answer a question like a what if question? In this video about what if thinking, I'm going to talk about why we engage in ruminations. I'm going to talk about a common fallacy that makes us believe that what if thinking is a good thing. And I'm going to talk about some of the underlying issues that prompt the what if thinking in the first place. Here we go. When we really dig into it, what if questions make us feel bad? Well, what if the question isn't the result of us feeling bad? What if feeling bad prompts the question? So what I'm getting at here is, what if questions aren't actually questions? What if questions are actually an expression of a feeling in the form of a question? A what if question is an expression of a fear or a worry. And that's the point. It's not a question, it's an expression of fear. It's an expression of concern or worry. Then we might ask the question, well, Marcus, what do we do with that? Well, one approach is to recognize that the what if question is not a question, it's an expression. And to ask ourselves, what is it that we're trying to express here? What is it we are worried about? I'm worried that I won't get a raise. Now that I've expressed that fear, now I can be more direct about doing something about that. Fear, worry, and concern, we have to go through them in order to address them. We can't avoid them. Asking a what if question is actually also a form of avoidance, because we are tricking ourselves into thinking that this is an answerable question, when it is not. It's an expression. And this is why it doesn't work to try and answer the question. Another way that we can address what if questions is by addressing the emotion underneath it. So if I'm afraid and I recognize that fear, then I can do something about it. I don't have to solve a problem to reduce my fear. For example, when I start asking what if questions, I might get a little antsy or jittery and I can't stop thinking and moving it around. But if I calm the self, if I say do a breathing exercise, do a muscle relaxation, do the attention countdown, or make a list of debts, whatever it is, if I engage a coping mechanism, I de-escalate the self, and I no longer feel fear. I no longer feel the worry. And I can now then do something about it because my brain has re-engaged. If I address the feeling underneath the what if question, then the fear that prompted it in the first place will have been addressed, and I will no longer ask what if, which is a rhetorical question. And as you know, a rhetorical question does not have an answer. Another point that I want to talk about is sometimes we have the belief that asking a what if question, that when we worry about something repeatedly, that's a good thing because it helps us be more prepared. Now, that idea makes sound logical sense. However, it raises the question then, how come the worrying doesn't actually either prevent something from happening, or how come I don't feel better when it does happen? Research into this field has really answered that question. So worrying and ruminating over and over on the same thing does not actually make us more prepared. We think it does, and it makes logical sense. However, research has shown that that is incorrect. We are not actually more prepared for something. What does happen, though, is mentally we go to the time and place as though that worry has already happened. If we are worried grandma will die, and we start thinking about what if, we will mentally take ourselves to the time and place when grandma has died, and we will feel the despair and the grief and the worry and the loss, even though grandma is still here. And so, worrying about something, although it makes logical sense that we would be more prepared, factually is incorrect. We are not more prepared. In fact, we suffer the emotional consequences of it, while the thing is not prevented by our worrying about it. Our what if thinking tends to focus on the worst case scenario, which also has the smallest percentage chance of happening. So we would better spend our effort by thinking on what is most likely to happen. Okay, putting that all together, what if questions are not actually a question that you are asking. That is an expression of fear in the disguise of a question. But you're not actually trying to answer what if. So what we can do, we can recognize that it is not actually a question, but an expression of emotion. We can then identify what it is we have that emotion about. For example, I am afraid I will not get a raise and I need the money because my rent is going up. Now I can do something about it. Alternatively, we can address the emotion underneath it. And that will again help us to de-escalate, and then the emotion will no longer be present. So that's it. I'm going to wrap it up there. Thank you for watching. Take care, and we'll see you next time.